Immigration is something that everybody is talking about in the UK right now, and immigration raids are highly searched for on social media. Some of these videos get hundreds of thousands of views. They are some of the most viewed pieces of content about immigration in general in the UK. Most of them will show officers chasing down targets, arresting targets, and sometimes these people will resist arrest, which means that police officers then have to get physical with them. And as you can probably imagine, they're the ones that usually get the most views. But what are they actually like? Well, I was part of the media team on one of these immigration enforcement operations, otherwise known as raids, so I got to see what they're actually like firsthand, and I also ended up in the back of a police van. But we'll explain that at the end of the video. This operation that I went on was in Bristol, so I had to get a 3-hour train down south. I went over to the Home Office building and met up with the team there, and it turns out there was a media crew from ITV News. They were both really nice. Did feel a little bit awkward though, because they had this massive camera and I had my phone. So, there's levels to this game, and clearly I am not on theirs. Before setting off to the first location, the team had a briefing to make sure that everybody knew the plan of action. Obviously, everybody did know the plan. This whole thing was very professional and very well thought out. They got into their marked and unmarked vehicles and set off to the first business, which was a nail salon. And what makes this place really interesting is the fact that there was literally people getting their nails done, and then there's just officers swarming into the building. Like, it must have been a morning and a half for them. But we parked up, walked towards the shop. Multiple officers obviously entered the premises and was checking people that worked there, while others just stayed outside the business, and that's where we were. We were just filming through the window because we couldn't actually go into the business itself. Now, this nail salon has been visited before. It's actually been visited 4 times in the last year or so, and one of those people was basically seen there every single time by the sounds of it. At this location, 2 people were detained, not arrested. They were questioned by the officers, and then they ended up just walking out of the shop like normal. And as you can probably imagine, with us being there, this drew a lot of attention. There was people all around us, just like in all the other videos you've probably seen of this sort of thing. Everybody was asking questions, other people were filming it themselves, because, you know, this is in a public place. As I said, those 2 people didn't end up getting arrested, but one person did. Basically, the officers were looking for the owner or whoever runs the place. They managed to find him, he was in the back, and this guy was the one that got arrested. He was arrested allegedly for employing illegal workers. Obviously, that is a crime. Whether you know about it or have a slight idea about it, you can't do that. And when I asked what the punishment for this man would be, I was told that this man could be facing up to 5 years in prison and an unlimited fine. Obviously, if this is the 4th time that they visited this place and nothing seems to really be changing every time they go there, then in the enforcement officer's eyes, that is a major problem. Officers hung up closure notices in the windows of this property. There was actually 3 notices, like they were really trying to jam home their point. These closure notices basically mean that you can't go into the premises for the next 24 hours. So everybody that works there and everybody that was just inside there then had to leave. The owner was put in cuffs and he was walked through the centre. They obviously put him in the back of a van and then took him away. Now, what I did find strange about this is the fact that this man was obviously complaining inside, but then when it came to him being in cuffs and being walked by police, as soon as he came out of that premises, he was smiling at us all. I mean, to be fair, it was probably because he saw this great huge camera next to me and then me with just an iPhone 15. It would be pretty funny, to be fair, even in a situation like that. And now I know what you're all wondering. Oh, Andrew, at the start of the video, you said you were in the back of a police van. Well, yeah, I actually was. But not for the reasons you might think. I'm a good boy, a good law-abiding citizen. I don't do anything wrong. So let me explain. Basically, this man is Eddie Montgomery. Eddie Montgomery is the Director of Enforcement, Compliance and Crime, and he was actually there with us on this operation. Really, really nice guy, really down to earth, and was just happy to answer any questions that I had for him. We even just talked about the football on the State Sheffield Wednesdays, and you know what I mean? Like, proper nice guy, but obviously a very important guy, especially when it comes to these sort of things. He already did an interview outside the nail salon, and then I managed to get an interview. There was one little difference about my interview to the interview that he did before me, because I did it in the back of a police van. It wasn't even my idea. I don't know whose idea it was. I'm pretty sure it was one of the officers, but it was sick. I had a few questions for him. He was more than happy to answer them all, so this is the interview. So how do you determine when and where an immigration enforcement operation is?
So, I mean, it goes without saying I can't go into a huge amount of detail, but we are intelligence-led, which means, in essence, that we receive information predominantly from the public who submit allegations to us, but often through sharing information with other law enforcement agencies. We develop that into intelligence packages, and that dictates against our own threat assessments where we're going to go. So it's very much led by the intelligence we receive.
To what extent do you consider the presence of vulnerable people, children,
when you're choosing where to do one of these operations? Obviously there was children in the nail salon that was in earlier, so how is that considered?
I mean, it's a really important point, and one I'm really actually quite keen to stress, that one of immigration enforcement's objectives is protecting the vulnerable. We're often seen purely as a uniform frontline enforcement, but protecting and safeguarding those who are exploited is really important to us. All my officers have modern slavery training, you'll have safeguarding training. We make significant referrals into the national referral mechanism where we encounter potential victims of modern slavery. So it's hugely important to us that we're professional, we're courteous, and we treat people, regardless of their backgrounds, regardless of where they came from, with dignity.
What's your process of determining whether someone should be removed or deported?
So, in very basic terms, if someone is here illegally, has no right to be in the United Kingdom, we would seek to remove them. There's lots of parts of the process. Ideally, we'd want them to go voluntarily. I think it's a lot more ethical, and people can go home with dignity if they go voluntarily. But if they don't, then we'll look to enforce their removal. We'll put them into detention if they have no barriers to their removal. If they do have barriers to their removal, we'll put them on immigration bail until we remove those barriers. And once those barriers are removed, we'll seek to remove them from the country.
How do you ensure that enforcement operations are carried out fairly?
So we have various levels of assurance in place. So we make sure that all our officers are assured independently by our own assurance teams. We also have a professional standards unit, and people submit complaints about the way we operate. They're fully investigated, and where the behaviours and conduct of my officers doesn't meet the expectations that we want, that'll be fully investigated as well.
That pretty much answers one of my other questions. If an officer does commit any kind of misconduct or make errors, how are they then punished and investigated?
The behaviour of officers, as you've seen today, is extremely important.
Yeah.
And it's really drilled into them about how professional and courteous we treat those people we encounter who have been through some pretty horrendous things, often exploited, often vulnerable as well. All our officers are trained and accredited to the College of Policing, so we're trained to the same standards in terms of our arrest capabilities as well. So it's hugely important we maintain those standards, and they have refresher training every 12 months to make sure they can maintain those standards and keep those levels.
How is the success of an operation measured? Is it just numbers, or is there other metrics to it?
Yeah, I mean, you've seen today that there's more to it than purely numbers. I mean, if someone is in this country illegally, yes, we will arrest them, and yes, we will seek to remove them from the country, again, ideally voluntarily or through enforced removal. But you've seen the other outcomes today. We've been able to close down the business because they've repeatedly broken the immigration laws. We've arrested someone and have criminal charges against them for employing illegal workers. We can issue civil penalties. So it's not just around the illegal work themselves, it's how we disrupt the model of organised crime groups or facilitate people into the United Kingdom.
What roles do private sectors like employers and landlords have in these kind of operations, and how do you manage those relationships with those people?
For employers, obviously, they've got to know that they can employ someone legally in the United Kingdom. But it's the same with landlords. They've got to be able to take checks that someone is able to rent accommodation in the United Kingdom. We educate, we facilitate those checks. We have online checking services they can access, and we work with them really close to ensure that we make it as easy as possible to undertake those right to work checks, so that when we do encounter illegal workers, they are able to demonstrate what they have done to undertake those checks.
Yeah, I've pretty much seen this today because it happened today, but how do you coordinate with local police and other organisations on enforcement operations?
So there'll be times when we deploy purely as immigration enforcement, but ideally what we want to do is bring the full weight of law enforcement and wider government. So it's not just around policing, it's not just around the National Crime Agency, but HMRC and Health and Safety Executive and Fire and Safety. They all have a role to play. Illegal working is not just about illegal working. It often comes with other offences, other breaches of the law, other criminal offences, whether that's abuse of national minimum wage, whether it's fire and safety regulation breaches. So it's really important we try, wherever possible, to bring the full weight, so it doesn't just focus on the illegal working element, but the broader breaches of labour market abuse.
One other question specifically about today, the man that was arrested today, what's the next step for him? What happens in this process?
Well, so he's going through the criminal justice process now. He's been arrested, he'll be taken to the police station where he'll be charged with the offence. He'll then go through the judicial process. I mean, there is the potential, it's only potential, I'm not prejudging outcomes, that Employing someone illegally in the United Kingdom carries a prison sentence of up to 5 years and an unlimited fine.
Again, a massive thank you to Eddie for sitting down with me for 10 minutes and just answering some of the questions that I had. And thank you to everybody, all the officers on that operation that helped me with any questions that I had as well. And also a massive thank you to the people that managed to get me on this operation. But there you have it. It's not exactly how you see it on social media. What you see on social media is very dramatic and it's not always the truth. But yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.